It's that time of the month again. And there's no blood involved, except for the metaphorical blood. After I'm sliced and diced by having to confront these cringy, embarrassing, stupid things that Americans are saying online. And a major blow is driven into my heart, to my patriotic soul that loves America, as I confront the stupid shit Americans say this month. Imagine saying, oh, I'm 1.829 meters tall. Isn't that what you guys do? I'm just kidding. I guess you would. Honestly, I've never actually heard anyone say their height in the metric system. I guess you would say, like, I'm 1 meter 50 centimeters tall. Or would you just do centimeters? Maybe you would just say, like, I'm 300 centimeters tall. Imperial system, which I am trying to think. I guess that would be really freaking tall, wouldn't it? That would be like giganto status, tallest man ever. Anyway, imperial system greater than metric system. Ooh. Says apparently this guy's the one guy on the planet with that opinion, although he does have a Beatles album avatar, so I kind of like him. Nope. Imagine saying, oh, I'm 1.829 meters tall. Easier to say I'm 6 foot tall. Two can play that game. Imagine saying, oh, I'm 6.56168 feet tall. That's a good point. Easier to say I'm 2 meters tall. Simple. Damn. He just got wrecked, I'm not going to lie. So I am still trying to figure out, what do you guys say? I guess you guys just say centimeters. That's what I've kind of settled on. Okay, I'm not going to lie. For some reason, I was under the impression that in Britain, obviously I know that's where we got the imperial system from, but I thought they had moved on. But apparently they still use feet. French people would say meters and centimeters. So wait, so ChatGPT actually says someone who is 1.80 meters tall. I'm so confused. Holy shit, this should not be that challenging of a question. I'm starting to get mad at the AI. 1 meter 80, or 180. Okay, so it is 1 meter 80 centimeters. Got it. Which happens to also just be 1.8 meters, which is the nice thing about the metric system. Insulin is a privilege, not a right. Okay, let's see. Average price for a vial of insulin in the world is $8.81. That shit's expensive as hell here in America. Insulin is a privilege, not a right. It defies the natural order of life. I mean, the natural order of life has led us to where we are today, right? Where insulin is quite readily available and created. So I'm always kind of confused when people are like, oh, that's not natural. It's like, what do you mean? I mean, it kind of is. Like, we are part of nature. But anyway, also, it's just a really annoying semantic debate that people make over here in America where it's like, healthcare's not a right. You know that? It's a privilege. It's like, I don't give a shit. It's a privilege that should be afforded to all people who live in the wealthiest nation in the history of the world. I would say, especially considering every other developed country affords that to their citizens. I think that's pretty reasonable. In fact, to be honest, I don't even like the talking point that healthcare is a human right. I don't care. It's a human right. It's a privilege. I don't care. It's just something that should be provided because we can easily afford to do so. It's really that simple. I don't think we need to have a semantic debate about it. It's the ethical thing to do. No, I live in a first world country. Do you use WhatsApp? No. What? What the fuck? God damn, that's the dumbest take I've ever heard. You know, the thing about Twitter, though, I will say, is that you have these people that say the stupidest things, and they make a bunch of money saying it, so it incentivizes people to keep saying the stupid things. It also makes the stupidest people the most popular. Because now Elon Musk made it to where you get paid to say stupid stuff on Twitter. Like, what does this even mean? What is the implication here? That there's something third world about WhatsApp? It's literally owned by Facebook, which is an American company. Holy shit, these are These are getting challenging this week, or this month, guys. Europeans saw a guy, actually, I guess I'll read this first. Americans saw water freeze at 0 Celsius and said, let's make that 32. Okay. I mean, that's funny. I get that that's a joke, you know? Sometimes I take stuff a little too serious when it's this type of thing. You have to realize sometimes people are joking, and I get that. That's a funny joke. Because obviously that's not how that happened. Europeans saw a guy who was 6 feet tall and said, let's make that, oh, not this shit again. 1.89 meters. I mean, I'm going back to this now, and I genuinely don't understand. Like, do I need to explain why this is kind of stupid? No, I don't think I need to explain that. Obviously, that's not the basis of the imperial system, or Fahrenheit. Is Fahrenheit part of imperial? Yes, it is part of the imperial system. I guess I was just wondering if it's like a totally separate thing from the imperial system. Anyway, obviously it makes way more sense to take the freezing point of water, something that's a constant around the world, and I guess in the universe. Well, no, I guess it depends on like the atmosphere and shit. I don't know. I'm not a fucking scientist. But obviously using that as a constant and being like, that's our baseline, that's 0, makes way more sense. Yeah. And how is that even comparable to someone who's 6 feet tall? That doesn't make sense. The only way that argument would even begin to make sense is if you took the average height of like a human man, I guess, or woman. But let's go with man, which is what, like 5'8" or 5'7" in the whole world? 5'8" or something? And make that like 1. I'm starting to get, I'm confusing myself. Let's move on. I've noticed Europeans are way more susceptible to propaganda than Americans. Oh, really? Have you noticed that? Fucking I'm sorry. Okay, that was too far. Every time I travel and talk, European people at bars, they repeat the same 3 talking points. Mass shooting, healthcare, tipping. Yeah, why do you think that is? Why do you think that they repeat those 3 things? Probably because tipping's kind of the odd man out here, but these 2 are definitely 2 of the most embarrassing aspects of America. Objectively, how can you say they're not? What's like a propaganda about that? Anything negative about America's propaganda? And like I've said many times, I'm not an America hater. But how can you not say mass shootings, healthcare, and tipping aren't things that suck about America? You have to be blindfolded. People around the world have proven time and time again that nobody is immune to the effects of effective propaganda. And the Americans proved quite recently that we are no more immune to it at all. We soak it up. We fucking gobble it down. Oh, more propaganda, please. As long as it fits your narrative. Anyway. While retirement typically occurs after completing a career in saving and investing for it, a new trend is emerging among Gen Z career professionals called micro-retirement. Micro-retirements involve taking a 1 to 2 week break from work. This is so pathetic. This has to be satire. Oh, that's funny. Vacations are now micro-retirements. So you can't complain anymore. You do get to retire early. In fact, every year you take a micro-retirement. Who am I kidding? No American takes 2 weeks off from work every year. Isn't this a violation of FAA regulations? Well, bro, do you think it was in America? I don't even know what the context is here, but let's see. Did anything about this imply it was American? European flights aren't under FAA regulations. Oh, it was a European flight. Whoops. Getting water in Europe is so hard, I started bringing a hiking backpack to restaurants. I mean, that's fair dinkum, right? That's fair enough. I have heard that the waiters will look at you kind of like you're a little bit nuts if you ask for tap water at a restaurant. At least that's what I've heard about Europe. Is it not true? Is this trying to say it's not true anymore? I think this is a fine post. This is kind of funny because Americans absolutely love their tap water at the restaurant, and it's provided to you like they basically will just bring it to the table whether you ask for it or not. Okay, the top comment says, "Could I have some water, please?" has worked for me in the 8 European countries I've traveled to. Okay, but trust me, I've reacted to like 1,000 videos about culture shocks and stuff about Europe and America. And something that comes up all the time is apparently in Europe, when you ask for water, it's by default usually sparkling water, which is not what Americans want. And then number two, a lot of restaurants will have you pay for it, which is not what Americans want. And then number three is that they'll kind of think you're a little bit strange if you ask for just flat tap water, and then it won't come with ice, which is also what Americans want. So as an American, if you want your tap water with ice for free, I mean, it might be illegal, but this is a solution that does make sense to me. Granted, it's insane, but it's a solution. And I guess I should say, because I realized when I was saying that, I kept saying it's what Americans want. And it's like, if it was me personally, if I'm in a different country, then I'm not going to go for like, I don't expect anything to be the American way. And I don't even want it the American way. I would just try to like get the full experience of that culture, you know? If they serve sparkling water, then that's what I'm going to have with my meal because it's part of the culture. I'm not going to try to like make it more American. That kind of defeats the purpose, in my opinion, of visiting the country. There's no demand for public transit in the USA. Transit in the USA, 11 minutes by car. Bus, 2 hours, 7 minutes. Public transport is a gateway drug to EU-style socialism. No thanks. I'll drive. I mean, this point doesn't really stand right now considering New York just elected like some kind of Democrat socialist governor or something. But for the last many decades, New York City has been the capitalist capital of America. You know, it's like where the stock exchanges, New York Stock Exchange is, of course, you know, it's the capitalist capital of America. And they have the best public transport out of any city in America. So how do you rectify that? Ambulance ride in the US, $2,700. Yep. Ambulance ride in Australia, 0. Ambulance ride in Germany, 0. Ambulance ride in the UK, 0. This isn't a system. It's a trap. Ooh. Ambulance ride in the UK, not €0. Paid for. With taxes. No shit. Every single penny you ever earn, 20% gone for that ambulance. Not free. I mean, obviously there's, like, yes, the healthcare is paid by taxes. And their national insurance fund, which is basically a tax, right? But are we really going to pretend like we don't understand the difference? I mean, obviously, when it's public, it's not for profit, for one thing, unlike here in America. And that whole, you know, I think the profit motive is generally pretty good. When you have competition, ambulances don't really have competition because you don't even choose what ambulance comes to pick you up. It's just whatever company services that area you live in America. And you're probably not even conscious at the time the ambulance is picking you up and taking you to the hospital. So the whole capitalist model doesn't really work for ambulances. And that's why they can charge exorbitant fees. I mean, that's kind of obvious, right? I think that's kind of obvious. So when you remove all that, you know, you say, okay, this model doesn't really work for ambulances or healthcare in general. You remove it, let's publicly fund it. That way we can fund it by taxation without any profit motive. And we can structure the tax in such a way that poor people pay less and rich people pay more to fund this public good. I think it's pretty basic. Chinese food in Scotland. No take out away boxes and no chopsticks and no fortune cookies. I'm a little confused by this. Okay. So I see that the title, they emphasized no takeout, quote, or in parentheses, away boxes. And I'm wondering what, I guess I'm like what this post is about. You know what I mean? Because I don't even see the problem. I guess I have to go to the comments because, I mean, I can see that what they're referring to is the very, like, stereotypical Chinese takeout boxes. Which, I mean, if you are in here in America, then anytime you order Chinese takeout, it's going to come in these boxes. So they're saying, look, here in Scotland, they don't use those boxes. And are you guys making fun of that, the fact that he's kind of redundant here? He said takeout away boxes. Because some people here call it takeout, some people call it takeaway. So I'm just confused. I need to go to the comments. If you ask for chopsticks, you get them. Okay. That makes sense. No boxes apart from the two in the picture. Yeah, I already explained what he was referring to. These aren't like the ones in America. Which his point, I'm a little like, is the point being made here not clear? He's kind of saying that America has this kind of like weird made up notion of what Chinese food should be and how it should be packaged, and that there's fortune cookies, which obviously the fortune cookie isn't even a real Chinese thing. That was made up in California or something. But he says, they also don't have those generic boxes. I don't know, and no chopsticks, which is, I think his point with that is like, they're not trying to pretend like they use chopsticks. Like here in America, it's a gimmick. It's kind of a gimmick, unless you're eating sushi, which in my opinion, chopsticks are perfect for. But like you just use the utensil that is common in your culture, which makes sense. That's what they would give you. They're not trying to dress it up and pretend like you're in China. These boxes are a staple in every British household and will be used for years to come for literally anything. Sewing kit, Chinese tub. Somewhere to keep the biscuits, Chinese tub. Okay, that's cool. No takeout boxes makes a picture of takeout boxes. Mentally challenged isn't scratching the surface. Okay, I'm moving on. This is one of those posts where I feel like, honestly, his original point is missed on the people who are commenting here. Which makes sense because you guys probably aren't familiar with American Chinese takeout. I actually think he's critiquing American Chinese takeout. Like he's saying it's stupid that we put all these gimmicks, the fortune cookie, the chopsticks, and the boxes with the Chinese writing on them. Whereas in Scotland, you guys just make the food and put it in a standard takeout container. After 10 weeks of being in Europe, I learned everyone, Italians, Germans, Danes, French, are all afraid to even visit the States. They all really think they're going to be deported the minute they land. Well, that has been happening to some people. Unfortunately. I just looked it up. Tourism in the States is down by almost 30 billion this year. Indeed. Why do you think that is? Wow, this story is crazy. Turns out several European tourists have had nightmare experiences. Is she just updating her tweet as she goes along? Really? They don't think they'll get shot or something? Well, some do. I mean, that's also a fear. I've seen that as well. No, they all literally think they can't even visit as tourists. No, they think there's a risk. I mean, can you blame anybody? If I thought there was any type of risk that I might land in my designated vacation country, that I'm going out of the country to visit, if I think there's a risk, and if there is a risk that I might be turned away at the border on my vacation, that I'm going to choose somewhere else, I think that's very logical. Even if it's a 1% risk. You can't afford that when it's your whole freaking vacation. Wow, mind-boggling. What kind of propaganda are they hearing there? I'm betting they're hearing about how Europeans are getting turned away at the border for having a freaking tattoo kit. I'm betting it's only the leftists in those countries who believe that righties are smarter. Let's face it. Righties, that's butter. Italy is a right-wing country. Since Europeans are struggling to understand, allow me to explain it very clearly. Your, quote, center parties are left-wing, and your right-wing parties are the real ideological center. Oh my god, you just discovered the Overton window? Bro, that's amazing. How did you do that? You're so smart. And America's obviously the center of the universe, so we're the baseline, just like in Celsius, how the freezing point is 0. We're the 0. Anything that deviates from our Overton window That's how you measure it. There to the left, there to the right. Good job. You're a freaking genius, bro. And these are actually starting to make me mad. And that's when I have to end it. You know what I mean? That's when I have to end it. When they start to actually make me kind of mad. I need to go relax for the next 3 weeks and then do it again. Thank you for watching. Actually, in the meantime, I am going to react to US defaultism, which is basically just as bad. But I've got a couple weeks until I do that, or next week. I don't know. Anyway, thank you for watching. That was really painful. I'll see you guys tomorrow. Bye.